But yeah, I think, well, I mean, the reason why I got here today, I wanted to ask you, what's your 10 years of experience, stuff like that, just kind of like the NAR settlement, the kind of what market we're in right now, and what a home buyer or person that's, thinking about selling their house, what they should know.
Yeah. I mean, what should everyone know, right?
Right.
I think it's a really appropriate time to ask that question. You mentioned the NAR settlement.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, I think most of the people you talk to outside of it who aren't in real estate or in a business ancillary to real estate probably don't know about it.
Yeah.
They probably don't know about it. And if they've heard about it, they don't know the details of it. But for basically anyone who's watching or listening who has no idea what we're talking about, the Department of Justice is pretty heavily going after the National Association of Realtors right now. There was a private lawsuit that happened, Sitzler Burnett versus NAR or something like that. Here's what you need to know. Here's what I'll say that almost no one else will say. I haven't heard anyone else saying this. It's getting a lot of press, but I think it's true. Yeah. Homeownership in the United States of America is under attack.
Really?
And here's how we know. The number one lobbying group in America today is the National Association of Realtors. They spend, just in 2022, they spent $82 million lobbying in Washington. Literally, like Congress is steps away from NAR's headquarters. Okay? So NAR lobbies for two things, pretty much. You can boil it down to private property, ownership, and private property rights, rather, and homeownership for all.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay. So if you wanted to attack private property rights and people's ability to own homes, who would you attack first? I would attack the National Association of Realtors because that's who's lobbying. That's who's spending $82 million. Right. So, given that that's the case, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I also don't believe in coincidences. And I don't think it's a coincidence that that people are going after the National Association of Realtors, given that they're the people that are really out there fighting for home ownership, people's abilities to own homes. So why would you want to go after this? Why would you want to get rid of home ownership? Yeah. Why would you want to control what people do with their private property? Well, there's a whole bunch of different reasons, but what we know is that people who own properties get wealthy.
Yeah.
A lot of people think like, oh, wealthy people own properties. No. People who buy real estate get wealthy. And it's because you make money whenever you own real estate. Whenever you own private property, you make money.
I mean, compared to people that are renting, it's night and day.
Oh, it's funny because we show a graph, and we compare on the screen. We show a graph in our home buyer seminars all the time that demonstrate the difference in net worth between people that own their home versus people who rent their home. And most people don't even realize that there's two lines on the graph because the homeowner graph is so much higher. And so there's a whole bunch of reasons for that. Whenever you own real property, one, you become a more attractive person to loan money to. Yeah. It demonstrates more stability. And so you can take out loans. You can also borrow against that house and buy other assets and buy other real property. The equity capture, the ability to borrow from that equity. Mm-hmm. I mean, you just become wildly more wealthy. Yeah. Okay. So the problem with wealthy people is that they have a lot of power. They have a lot of options, and they're more difficult to control.
That's okay. Right. Yeah.
So if you wanted to control a whole bunch of people and you wanted to influence their decision making, you'd probably want to take away their ability to do whatever they want. Yeah. A really easy way to do that is by making them lifelong tenants. So I think the number, someone will fact check me, I think the number is 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 properties in America today are owned by a corporation.
Wow.
So corporate landlords are on the prowl. So, that's a really lengthy answer to your question. Yeah. And so let me just get to the point. So what should you know if you're a consumer? You should know that's the agenda. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you should do your best to not become one of the victims. Okay. So a good follow-up question that I'm sure you're gonna ask is like, okay, so what should the consumer do? I would let me tell you what not to do. And I'll tell you what to do.
Okay.
What not to do is focus or listen too closely to the hype over macroeconomics.
Okay.
If you turn on the national news today and they start talking about what's happening in the housing market or in the real estate industry or interest rates or with the Federal Reserve, you're going to hear a bunch of, it's factual data.
Right.
Okay. But there's two things to know about that factual data. One, it has nothing to do with your neighborhood.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with like your house, your neighborhood, your street, your subdivision. The macroeconomics are probably not applicable.
Yeah.
In any way. They probably
That's what the media likes to do it too. Like they'll put an article out, which is maybe true in certain points, but they don't give you the whole picture as well. And then people just
there's always bias. And you got to think about it. The people who are delivering the news to the media are also a little biased. So, the other thing is that interest rates in real estate are not necessarily perfectly tied to the Federal Reserve rates, and yet they do sort of mirror each other. But the interest rates are they're not how do I say this? They're not arbitrary. Like they're set. The Fed sets the interest rate. So people are like, oh, they're going up as if it's like this thing that we can't control. It's on purpose, right? What they're trying to do is inflation has gotten out of control, and we feel that in our daily lives. Like more and more people are struggling. And it's intentional. They've said they're going to keep raising it. The idea was that they would keep raising it until inflation halved, and that didn't happen, right? And so they're still increasing. Like I think we topped out in May. In May, our interest rate topped out at I think it was 7.3%.
Yeah.
So it didn't work, and so it's come down. They've said that they'll probably decrease it at least one time in this coming year. Here's the problem. So, why are prices have, by the way, nationally, prices have gone, you think prices have gone up or down this year?
Prices? I think they've gone up.
They've gone up 6%. I mean, 5.8% nationally. So, gosh, we've raised the interest rates. The cost of homeownership is higher than it's ever been. People are getting taxed out of their homes. People are can't afford insurance for their homes anymore. And prices are still going. How is this possible?
Yeah.
I'll tell you how it's possible. Here's a statistic that the people at home might want to write down. 100% of people live somewhere. Okay?
It is true.
We don't have enough houses for the amount of people that currently are qualified and would like to purchase a home. We don't have enough houses. The builders have never been able to catch up. So, whereas we had, I think, 900,000 pieces of inventory last year, I think this year we've got 1.3. It's still not enough. So it's basic supply and demand.
Right.
Okay. We don't have enough supply to meet the demand. The prices are going to go up. It doesn't matter what we do to the interest rates.
Yeah.
We've made it unaffordable, and people are still entering the market because they have to live somewhere. Have you noticed, on your drive home today, just look around at how many new apartment complexes there are. Like how many 5x1? They're everywhere.
Everywhere.
Why do you think that's
popping
happening?
up still.
So they're trying to rise to meet the demand that the single family market is not meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. And the problem is those companies, those apartment complexes are owned by corporations, right? Yeah. So corporate landlording is on the rise. So my advice to people would be don't focus on the macroeconomics of it. Okay. Don't listen too closely to what the media is saying. It's not that it's not true. It's just that it's not applicable to you. And so here's what I would do. Here's the advice here's what I would do. I would talk to a local professional who you trust, who can put you in a position to be to become a homeowner or to maximize your home ownership potential if you're already in a home, or if you're trying to transition, if you're trying to upsize, downsize, right size, whatever it is. I would talk to a local person that you trust who can connect you with the right programs, the right vendors, and the right opportunities, so that your net worth and your financial ability to continue to thrive and succeed, regardless of what's happening in the market, it continues to go on an upward trajectory. That's what I would do. So I hate this conversation because you and I are real estate salespeople. There's no way around it. People they'll put different things on their business cards, like, oh, I'm a real estate consultant, I'm a real estate success advisor. It's just like, look, you have a real estate salesperson's license. And so as a result, we only make, but I'm not making an hourly wage, are you?
No.
So we only make money when and if we sell houses. And so the consumer's perception is, well, of course you're going to tell me it's a great time to buy. You make money from selling houses. And so the struggle is, if you go and look at the bar graph for home values over the last, 200 years. That line is going up. It's going up.
Yeah.
Even at the times that it's gone down briefly. And not as much as you would think. So people are thinking like, I'm going to get this $500,000 house for $300,000. It's like, no. If you can time the market right, which none of us can, or we'd all be jillionaires. Okay, if you could time this market right, you would get that $500,000 house for $485,000. Okay, at a higher interest rate.
Yeah.
Okay. So the problem is that people, we hear it all the time. They're like, I think I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until X, right? I'm going to wait until Y. I'm going to wait until Z. I'm going to wait until it's just like, okay. Objectively, it's not my sales acumen kicking in here. Objectively, the best time to buy a house was 10 years ago. Yeah. Okay. The second best time was yesterday. The third best time is today. And the fourth, fifth, sixth, and 20th best time is tomorrow, the next day, and the day after that. It's objectively true. Yeah. And so it's funny because I was thinking of an analogy the other day. Have you ever seen those videos on YouTube of like people who have missed their cruise ship?
Yeah, when they're
sprinting like that, floppy hats going, they're stumbling.
They just recorded them.
It's and they're laughing. It's hilarious. That's our generation missing the home buying opportunity. Yeah, because we're going to wait for lower prices, better interest rates. We're going to wait.
Right.
The ship's leaving. Okay, and you've got no chance. I mean, that's pathetic and it's sad and I hate it, but. The market's not getting less expensive. No. The world isn't getting less expensive. The government's not trying to help you right now. They're trying to make sure that you continue to rent. And so I'm like, all of the odds are against you. And unfortunately, they're stacking and getting worse. So if you have the capacity to get into the home, even if it's not a home you love, it doesn't have to be a home you love. Okay.
And that's like the hard truth. We also have to settle with ourselves. Like, we're not going to get the forever home first time, but
you shouldn't.
Yeah.
You shouldn't. Life circumstances change. The average person in this area, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, moves every roughly 5 years. So you don't need your forever home today. Get a home that meets 80% of your needs today and make some money on the equity. I bought my first house for $175,000. I sold it for $325,000 after living there for 5.5 years.
Yeah.
If I didn't have that money,
you want to
here's the other thing is that people think about, they're just like, oof, this mortgage is pretty expensive. And I was like, have you ever calculated how much money you'll make per day?
That's a good way to put it, though.
I think whenever I calculated it, like on a monthly basis, I was spending like $28 a day or something like that to live in my house. And whenever I went back and calculated like how much equity I made, which was like $130,000, I ended up like making $65 a day for living in the house. And people don't think about that.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, stop thinking about like how much money you're spending, think about how much money you're making by living here.
Yeah.
So, I could go on and on. I think that homeownership is the best thing we have as Americans. I think it's the best thing we have as people who want to be wealthy and who want to live free and flexible. And I think it's the American dream. I think it's the best opportunity we have. I really believe that. It's not a
pitch. No, nothing.
It's not a pitch. Yeah. It's just like, I think, because I lived it.
Right.
I lived it. I would never be able to do the things that I wanted to do. And I would never have the life and the home. You've seen my house. Like I would never have afforded that. And it's not my forever home either. But I would never have been able to afford something like that if I continued to live in my, comfortable $1,200 a month rent house in North Denton that I rented in 2010. Like if I was still there, I'd still be there. I'd be stuck.
Yeah, you'd be stuck.
I'd be stuck. And I'd be subject to whatever my landlord wanted to charge me.
Yeah. But do you feel like people like my age is probably the hardest time to be a home buyer? From what you've seen throughout the years?
It's not going to get easier is the problem. So it's both the easiest time ever and the hardest time ever. Yeah. So you know what I mean? So it's like harder than your past generations. Like the millennials that got in earlier had an easier time. Yeah. Okay. Even those rough markets from like 2019 through 2021, still easy. I mean, they had 2% interest rates, so, your generation, I feel terrible for them. No one's helping you except for the local professionals. No one's
Yeah.
no one's assisting you. And so I feel really bad about it, but like, you're going to be a victim of it even more the longer you wait. This is something that you have to get ahead of today. Make a plan today. Make a plan right now. Even if you can't, if you realistically just can't, it's just not possible for the next 6 months, set it up today.
Yeah.
If we need to get into credit counseling, if we need to set up a savings account, if we need to, if we just need to, and here's the other thing is that sometimes you have to compromise.
Yeah.
I had to compromise.
No more Starbucks runs.
Well, we talked about my house. Okay.
Yeah.
Do I live in the place that I want to live?
Really not. So nice home though.
Yeah, well, exactly. And so I tell people that all the time. It's like, sometimes we as hardworking Americans who we have limitations.
Yes.
We're not living lifestyles of the rich and famous. We can live where we want to live, or we can live in the house we want to live in.
Yeah.
But we can't always have both. And so I have to grapple with that on people all the time. And it's like, look, it's not forever. Okay? There's going to be a life, and we see it in older people all the time. They live in these beautiful, they don't work, they haven't worked for 20 years. They live in these giant, beautiful houses overlooking the lake, and you're just like, how on earth did you do this? Like, it's because that's not their first house.
Yeah.
They made their money. Yeah, of course, they worked and they had 401ks and all sorts of other things, but also they made their money in equity from past sales, past purchases.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, yeah, that's like you said, it's only going to get harder from here. But that's why it's important to get with a local pro or like a local realtor or whatever that can lead you in that direction, whether it be, hey, maybe not today or in the foreseeable future, but at least have a plan.
It's just hard to say that without it sounding like a pitch.